Hello and welcome to this EVE Online guide where we're going to continue with our how to learn PvP as a PvE player. So in the last video we discussed how we're going to go about this process, we touched on all the different steps, and we started to look at this idea of practice then execute as a way of learning. In this video we are going to jump into some actual combat, and this is going to be step one. How do we get over the fear of losing a ship, which is probably the biggest hurdle for a PvE player. There is no magic solution to this problem. The only way that you're going to get over the fear is to turn that fear into fun. And again, there's no magic solution, but in these steps we're going to take over time, you're going to learn to enjoy it, and you're going to learn to realise that depending on the situation, losing a ship is not necessarily a bad thing. So we've already started that process by having some pre-made ships, so we're not having to think about it, we're just, get your ship. These are relatively easy ships to fly and to navigate. Like I say, we're keeping it simple as part of the learning process. The less our brain has to think about, the more we can enjoy the process and the more we can learn and understand and evolve. So with that said, we are going to actually get into combat fairly soon. There's a few things I just want to go over. So first of all, obviously we are going into low sec, we are going into faction warfare space. Please just check your clone, make sure you're in a clean clone. So that's the very first thing to check. I'll put that down here. So things to double check. You will make mistakes, you will get things wrong. I've certainly made mistakes in the past, but this is probably one of the biggest ones you want to avoid. So things to double check. So clean clone. You will get podded. There are people out there who are in sensor boosted ships, which can target you fairly fast. And if you're slow on aligning your pod, they will kill you. They will take your pod. Show you some of my interactions. So I've had a couple of kills. You can see all these Atrons are all where I've been practicing myself. But you can see here. So I've got this particular person. He got my pod. It was a clean empty pod, but there's one. Here's the same person again. He's taken my pod, and up here, someone different. They've taken my pod. So yeah, really important that you are in a clean clone. Next thing to double check, just check you've got your preloaded on ammo. I can't type. Preloaded ammo. Again, it's one less thing that our brain needs to think about. We want to set safety to yellow. And the final one is set our orbits. So we can do all this prior to going out, and that's, again, it's less things for us to think about while we're actually in combat. It's going to make it easier and more enjoyable. Now I just want to touch on what's going to happen through this process, because I think it's quite important to understand. So what's going to happen as we go through this process? You're going to start down here with the fear of losing your ship. We want to, like I say, we want to turn that fear into fun. As we go through this process, let's get to a normal pen. You're going to start down here on the bottom of the graph, and it'll ever so slightly go up, but not by much. But then something will happen and it'll jump, and then again you'll follow the process. Something will happen and it'll jump. You'll follow the process. Something will happen and it'll jump. And that's how long these take. Is I can't give you an answer to that. But these events that are going to occur, when this jumps up, this could be a multiple of things. So it might be, getting your first solo kill. It could be something like evading a combat with multiple ships. It might be being in a combat with multiple ships. So your first multi-ship combat. It could be as simple as as we said before, we're going to become the hunter. So it could be that becoming the hunter, not the prey. All these, and there's multiple things, but as we learn this process and as we spend time and gain experience, as we lose ships as part of this process, something's going to happen, and you're going to feel a real buzz of energy, and that's going to build up on this process of turning the fear into fun. So hopefully that makes sense. We are, like I say, going to jump into factional warfare low-sec space. Before we do that, we just want to very quickly set our ship up. So once you've got your ship, I will relink all of the fits in the description as a Eve Workbench link. They're all chitin micro warp drive ships. So what we want to do is just head to a random asteroid belt, and the reason for that is to find some normal regular rats to build upon this practice then execute. So if you remember in the last video, we had this training filter that we set up. We're going to be using that again. So we can go into the agency, go to resource harvesting, asteroid belts, and again we just want to find some systems that have a lot of belts. Add these as waypoints. We're not going to scan anything down. We did that in the first video. We are simply looking for some regular high sec belt rats. So we want to, as I say, things to double check. Are we in a clean clone? Let's double check that. Go to our character sheet, augmentations, and we are in a clean clone. So we have checked that. That is good. Preload our ammo, so we can group our weapons. We can preload our ammo. The Condor only has the one type of ammo. I will go over the turret ships in a little while. Set safety to yellow, so we can do that now. Set safety to yellow. We have done. And finally, we want to set our orbit. Now this is going to be slightly different depending on your skills and how fast you orbit, and that's where we want to do this practice then execute. So to start with, as a baseline, we're just going to set it to 15 km. Okay, so we can go up here, we right click on the orbit, set default 15,000. Now what we want to do is just warp to a random belt and find some belt rats and just set up an orbit with our micro warp drive turned on. You could technically do this on anything. You could just do it on an asteroid, on a gate, on anything. But we want to do this on some belt rats for a reason. So there's no rats on this particular belt. So I'll go to the next one. Like I say, if we go into, we touched on this in the last video, but on our fitting window, if we simulate with our either shield booster or armor booster not active, we should be stable. include, that's with the micro warp drive on. So we have our belt rats here. So we're going to just set our orbit, hit our micro warp drive, and we want to see at what range we are actually orbiting. It's even though we've set it to 15, it's probably going to be above 15. So we are currently orbiting between 16, 17 km. We want to ideally have this orbit at 15. So you see I've gone out. In fact, what I'll do is I'll lock the one I'm orbiting, just so that we can keep an eye on that. So here we go at the top here. So 16, 15, and we just want to keep in this orbit just for a minute or two. Now, obviously these are just regular pirate rats, but these ships will be relatively slow compared to some ships that we're fighting. You can see already we're going up to 17, so what I might actually do is just reduce that orbit down to 14,000. Hit it again. It's going to obviously tighten our orbit range up slightly, and we're aiming for this orbit number here to be as close to 15 and on 15 for as long as possible. And then, okay, so I'm quite happy with that. Now the second part of this practice, then execute, is we want to build up a little bit of muscle memory of how we're going to engage combats. It doesn't matter if we lose the fight. Right? You will probably lose multiple ships before you get a win. We simply want to find a target and engage on that target. So if I just move out a bit to start with, and I'll lock that target. So what we're going to do when we are engaging in factional warfare space, we've scanned someone down, we've warped to them, we're simply going to, as soon as we can, click on the ship, hit orbit, and then once we get somewhere close to range, we're going to start locking them, hit our warp disruptor as soon as I can, and so I need to move these around. So warp disrupt, fire, and it doesn't matter what happens now. We're just going to sit in orbit and fire. Obviously these are just rats, they're really easy, but we're going to do that again. So we're going to orbit. We can even, if you want to, you can pre-select your warp disruptor and then click on the target. So as soon as you lock them up, you're going to hit your warp disruptor and fire. And like I say, it doesn't matter what else happens. It doesn't matter if the person we're attacking is better than us and they manage to catch us. It doesn't matter if more people warp in. It doesn't even matter what ship we're attacking. We just want to be the hunter and not the hunted. Okay, so let's get out to factional warfare. Now I don't need the training filter anymore, so I'm going to go back to my general filter, and we can again go into the agency. We can go to encounters, factional warfare, and then here it says factional warfare systems. You can go to any factional warfare systems that you like. The reason we want to pick scouts and smalls is because we are controlling the environment. The only people who can warp in on a scout is a frigate. The only people who can warp in on a small is frigates and destroyers. Although we might get into a fight on a gate to a complex, and anyone can be on the outside the gate. Go back to our scan safe, and now we can start scanning down some ships. It looks like there's only a Catalyst Navy issue, but again, it's the first step. It doesn't matter. Even if we know the ship is bigger, better, stronger, we still want to engage, just to get over the fear of losing our ship. Okay, so let's try and scan this guy down and engage him. So as we learnt in step 1, we are going, so he is here, we're going to drop our distance down, still within 10, within 5, back up to 5. He is somewhere here. Now we can put our angle straight down and we can start scanning some of these sites. Don't know which one he's going to be at. We can just click on them all. If there is a lot of sites like this, you could keep the angle up at, say, like 90 degrees, and then do a scan at 90, just to find them a bit quicker. There we go. So now when we look, there's obviously a couple of sites there within 90. I'll then drop that down. I think this was one. There we go, and we've found him. So probably inside the factional warfare system, but we don't actually know that. So I'm going to warp at 20 because I don't want to land at 0 in case he's sitting on the gate. Once we have scanned them down, I like setting my angle back to 360 and the distance down to 0.1. And this will only show us people who are basically right next to us. So he's not outside the gate, he's probably inside. Is a cat navy issue, so if he gets on us, we are likely gonna die. But like I say, it doesn't matter. So there he is. We're gonna click on him, hit our orbit. So orbit, micro warp drive, and they've run off. Look at that. Cat navy issue would absolutely batter us, and they just run off. That's going to happen fairly regular, but we're still, especially if this is your first time, you are going to feel a little bit of excitement doing that. Your heart's going to be racing a little bit, and that's part of the fun, part of the game, because we are now the hunter, not the hunted. Okay, let's go and find another system now. Cat Navy is back. Well, I've already walked off. Sometimes it pays to be persistent. So we could, if someone walks off on you, you could try to get them, 2, 3, 4 times. Sometimes being persistent does pay. Okay, we have a lot of ships in this system, so we are bound to find something here. So let's get our scanning on. Lots within 10, lots within 5. Okay, now these could all be part of actual factional warfare, so they are likely to gang up on us if they are, but again, it doesn't matter if you actually find someone. Oh, there was someone there then. A Merlin. Merlin out on this. Let's see if we can get to them. Oh, they're not actually. Oh, look at all them wrecks. There's been a big fight here at some point. There's our Merlin. Let's go. Like a warp drive. Right, we are in orbit. I am not going to do anything. We're just going to play it out. Got him into armour. Might have friends on the way. We don't care. He's not hit us yet, so we don't actually need to use my shield booster. We know we are low on capacitor, so we won't use it if we don't have to. There we go, there's our first little kill. And Good fight with a smiley face in local. Let's get our reward. So let's take a look. I might as well pick up these drones while we're here. Be a shame to leave them drones out on the field. There's not that many people in this system. Oh, there's a stabber on the medium. Let's see if we can get him. Now, we will not have the damage to kill a stabber, but that doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter that we don't have the damage. It's simply about being part of the action, part of the fun. If we die in a blazing ball of fun, he's right on top of us. So, let's go. Wind shield all ready. Now we could try and pick off these drones, but it doesn't matter. It's just part of having a bit of fun. We know we're not going to out damage a stabber. Doesn't matter. We simply want to have a go. There we go. And again, good fight with a smiley face. And that's all part of the fun. Right, so let's get back to station. Where do we want to go? Let's have a look at what this person is. 0.5. Ah, he's podding us. That's fine. Take pod journey home. Pod express. And that's why you want to change your pod out to a clean clone. Obviously, we could have warped off. We were slow warping off, but doesn't matter. Okay, so we've just got back to a factional warfare system that I've got a couple of ships in. See, I've bought a couple of ships out here already. We'll give the Executioner a go, and we'll see if we can get another kill or two. So again, I'm going to go to my scan safe. And like I say, at this point, it doesn't matter what we engage on. It doesn't matter what buttons we press. All that matters is we are giving it a go. We are the hunter, not the hunted. Okay, we're back on our scan safe. See, we've got a couple of things here. Coercer and a cormorant, they'd be nice targets, but like I say, it doesn't matter what we engage on. We try to just engage on anything. So let's start scanning. So cormorant still within 10, within 5. Okay, that'll do us within 5. So what's within 5? We can even put our probe scanner on distance. See what's within 5. Set our angle down. And then we can just scan them from our probe scanner window if we want to. See, this is a little bit of a longer way to do it, but there you go. Got the cormorants on this small. Let's go see if we can get him. Again, I always like setting my angle back to 360 and distance back down to 0.1 after I've scanned someone and heading over to get him. We are preloaded on our mid-range ammo. He's inside the system. Let's go. quite far out, but we're still going to try and get him. Make a warp drive over. Look at all these juicy wrecks we could pick up. He's likely to warp off, but we're still going to give it a go. See, he's only moving at 320, we're moving at 3,300. Now there could be Blaster Fit and he's trying to coax us into getting close. But it doesn't matter, we just hit orbit and we're just going to see what happens. We'll get into a little bit more advanced manoeuvres later on. What's this that's coming? Probably his buddy, that's fine. And we're getting engaged on now. So it looks like this guy is probably sniper fit. He's got us into hull already. And we're about to go down. Yeah. But it doesn't matter. We're doing really basic piloting at the moment. We are just learning to be part of the process. Let's get out before we get podded. We could have played that a lot better, but it does not matter. So let's have a look at what we got. So obviously we lost our Condor, we lost the Executioner. So that's, I mean, estimated 500,000. We know it's more than that. We know it's about 1.5, 2 million. Same with the Executioner. Go on our kills. We actually got this guy. We killed him. But we actually picked up all of that loot as well. So that was here. We actually, we picked up like a good 18, 20 mil worth of loot. So it's easily paid for our ships. And like I say, the most important part of this step is just getting out there, getting involved, being part of the action, and trying to have a bit of fun. It doesn't matter if you press the wrong buttons. It doesn't matter if you forget to change your safety from green to yellow. I've done that before, and I'm sat there orbiting something thinking, why aren't I shooting? Why aren't I locking him up? And then I realise 10 seconds later, oh, I'm still on safety green. Best way to learn sometimes is learning from your mistakes. The only one that you really want to double check, as we said here, is that you're in a clean clone. You can get podded, you will get podded. So just that's a fair warning for you all. And finally, how many times you want to do this before you move on to the next step, basic maneuvers? That's entirely up to you. If you're engaging in targets and you're still getting a big rush of adrenaline, it's still like really excitement, then I would carry on. Take 3, 4, 5, 6 ships out, as many as you need to take out until you start to get familiar with the process, the feeling of it, and until it starts to become a little bit less exciting. That's when you want to move on to the next part of actually, where we'll talk on, like I say, step 2 is some basic maneuvers. So in the last fight that we got blown up, I simply had micro warp drive on at orbit, and I didn't do anything. We could have avoided a lot of damage by manoeuvring better, but that comes later on with basic maneuvers and more intermediate advanced maneuvers. So hope you enjoyed that one. Hope you stick with us. Hope you have some kills, some deaths. Most importantly, I hope you enjoy it, and we will catch you in the next one.